How much money do you think you'll need to be able to retire? It's a question that many of our financial advisors continuously receive. It's also a question that seems to have different answers just about every time it's asked. And the reason for that is simple. The amount of money that you need to be able to retire depends entirely on how much money you think you can earn in retirement, meaning through investments and dividends, sprinkle in some Social Security, or even a part-time job. But perhaps more importantly, how much money you're actually going to need to survive in retirement. And again, that's not a clear answer because it doesn't give us a real number to strive for as we work through our careers. So although I can't sit here and give you an exact number without diving too deep into your day-to-day lives, I can and will give you a little something that gives you at least a number that's pretty close to what you're aiming for. Which leads us to today's topic, where I break down something called the 4% rule and how it gives you a goal to shoot for. Let's get started.
Today's episode is brought to you by Security Financial Management.
Welcome back to the Best Advice Podcast, guys. I'm your host, Rob Lavalio. Here as always with It's Just Me Today, guys. It's Memorial Day. It is Monday. I just ran back from the beach to get this done. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. Thank you so much to anyone who has served and given up their life to ensure that we are safe, and God bless America. With that being said, let's get right into it with the question of the day. Today's question comes from Harold from Austin. Harold, what you got for us?
How much money does one need to retire? Is there any rule of thumb of how much I can safely pull out each year to make my money last during my retirement?
Thank you, Harold. So what is the 4% rule? Well, it's a rule of thumb that's used to determine the amount of funds that you will need to withdraw from your retirement account each year. It's also called the safe withdrawal rate because it's basically a benchmark, a safe amount you can take out from your retirement savings each year to live off, with the idea that most of the money comes from the growth of interest earned off your principal investments, which allows minimal impact off your principal. Some quick little background on this entire concept. In 1994, a financial advisor named William B. Gann did an extensive study of historic returns in the market, focusing heavily on the severe market crashes of the Great Depression in the early 1970s. And the conclusion was that even during these hard times, no historic case existed that the safe withdrawal rate, being 4%, exhausted a retirement portfolio in less than 33 years. Now, 33 years should and would easily cover most of our retirements. The idea behind the rule is that once you have approximately 25 times your annual expenses saved for retirement, you should be able to retire with reasonable certainty that you could survive until death on that savings. Because at that point, the amount you take out of your annual expenses would be approximately 4% of the retirement savings. And when I say 4% of your retirement, I mean anything that's been embarked to use only in retirement. That includes 401ks, IRAs, or any other nest eggs you have saved for retirement. So let's play live. For example, if you had $900,000 in your 401k and another $100,000 in your personal IRA, then you would have $1 million, right? Let's keep the numbers round. So your initial withdrawal in the first year of retirement, using that 4% rule, would be 4% of $1 million, or $40,000. Now, some other factors you're going to want to keep in mind when using the 4% rule, in addition to obviously watching your expenses, is accounting for inflation. The 4% rule, believe it or not, actually allows you to increase your withdrawal each year to keep that pace with inflation. You can do this in one of two ways. One, you can simply set a 2% increase each year, which would match the Federal Reserve's target, or you can adjust based on the actual inflation rate from the previous year. Now, you might be wondering, if I'm increasing the amount I withdrew every year, won't I actually run out of money? And it's a fair question, but the answer is not necessarily. And that's because historically, the market grows over time. Financial advisors will quote a wide range of figures for how much the market averages per year in growth. It's usually anywhere from 6% to 10%. To be conservative, let's go with a 6% annual average return. So let's get back to the example I've been using this whole video. You started off retirement with $1 million in savings. And in the first year of retirement, you withdrew $40,000, which was the 4% of your savings. I do want to note that I am using a compound interest calculator, and to be extra careful, I'm assuming you take out your $40,000 at the very beginning of each year, meaning on January 1st. That's important to note because it does make the situation conservative. Because usually I'd suggest you take out smaller amounts, like $3,333 every month. That way you can earn a little bit of compound interest on that extra cash. So in real life, your savings could and would probably grow a little more than this example, just based on compound interest throughout the year. So here we are again. On January 1st, you withdrew $40,000, meaning you have $960,000 left in your nest egg. So over the course of the year, the market went up 6%, which means the value of your portfolio on December 31st would now be $1,017,600. Now in year 2 of retirement, you increased your withdrawal by 2%. That is to keep up with inflation. So on January 1st of the second year, you withdrew $40,800, which is 2% more than the $40,000 from the previous year. That brings your portfolio down from $1,017,600 to $976,800. Then the market goes up again, that is by 6%, which brings your balance by the end of that year, year 2, to $1,035,408. If you were to continue these calculations each year, increasing your withdrawal by 2% annually and earning a 6% market return on average, so after 30 years, your portfolio would still be around $1.5 million, meaning that can give you the opportunity to have $500,000 more than what you started retirement with. Now, of course, this is just a rule of thumb, so there are situations where you're going to want to avoid this altogether. Situations like if your portfolio consists of a lot more higher risk investments than, say, your typical index funds and bonds that are usually in a retirement portfolio. This is because obviously a higher risk investment can go down a lot faster than your typical retirement portfolios, which can be extremely devastating, especially early on in your retirement. Also, this rule of thumb only really works if you stick to it year in and year out. That's why asset allocation and expert advice from a financial advisor who does this for a living, day in and day out, is extremely important. If you do want to talk to one of our advisors here at SFM, I'm going to leave a link in the description for you. Also, if you learned anything today, please support the channel by clicking that subscribe button. Maybe a couple of likes never hurt. And remember, folks, the secret to wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep. Happy days, everybody.
This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only and is not intended as personal financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please do your own research and consult a financial advisor as needed.